What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 14 sleeper picks.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to give you some of my top DFS sleeper picks,
Super low priced and low ownership players that could crush value this week and give your lineup an advantage over the field. These are risky plays, meant for large tournaments only. Don't go all in on any of these guys. They are high risk, high reward picks. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made.
Okay guys, NFL Week 14, let's take a look at the quarterback position. So my sleeper pick at the quarterback position is Mike White from the New York Jets playing the Buffalo Bills, who do have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing quarterbacks, but Mike White has averaged 25.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 3 rush attempts per game, only going to be about 3% owned, projected at 18 fantasy points here in Week 14. He's 5,500 DraftKings salary, 1,300 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 43.5 points scored in this game, with the Jets trailing by 10. So Mike White has scored 23 and 28 fantasy points in his last 2 games. He got 3 rush attempts in each of those games. I think this is a good game script for Mike White. Despite a bad matchup here, I think he's going to have to pass the ball quite a bit in this one, which adds to his upside. Low price tag, low ownership, has been fantastic in his first 2 games as the starter. He's got some decent wide receivers that you can stack on here. So I like Mike White here versus the Buffalo Bills. Another sleeper pick that I like is Trevor Lawrence from the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the Tennessee Titans, who have the 10th worst defense overall. They give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence has averaged 18.4 fantasy points per game on the season, gets an average of 3.6 rush attempts per game, only going to be about 4% owned, projected at 20 fantasy points here in Week 14. He's 5,700 DraftKings salary, 1,500 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 41 points scored in this game, with the Jaguars trailing by 3.5. So Trevor Lawrence has scored 16, 29, and 21 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He got 4, 2, and 4 rush attempts in those games. Now, he was limited throughout the week, but he's expected to play, so I think that questionable tag is dropping his ownership here. He's got a fantastic matchup, price tag is low, and I do think he has 20 plus fantasy point upside in this one. So I like Trevor Lawrence here versus the Tennessee Titans.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. One of my sleeper picks here is Jamal Williams from the Detroit Lions playing the Minnesota Vikings, who have the 2nd worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing running backs. Jamal Williams has averaged 14.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 15.7 rush attempts per game, gets 1 pass target per game. So he's going to be about 3% owned, projected at 12 fantasy points here in Week 14. He's 5,900 DraftKings salary, 1,100 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 51.5 points scored in this game, with the Lions favored by 2. So Jamal Williams has scored 10, 12, and 24 fantasy points in the last 3 games, up of 11, 18, and 17 rush attempts. Now, it looks like all of the ownership here has shifted off to DeAndre Swift. So DeAndre Swift is going to be about 18% owned, and I think it's going to be a pretty even split here. And Jamal Williams, I think he had a questionable tag on earlier in the week with a hand injury. He's off the injury report. He's going to be good to go. It's a high-scoring game. It's a pretty decent matchup here. So at the 3% ownership, considering that they're both right around the same price, I think Jamal Williams is a pretty decent tournament play. So I like Jamal Williams here versus the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, another sleeper pick at the running back position is Rachaad White from the Tampa Bay Bucks, playing the San Francisco 49ers, who have a good defense overall. They've been good versus opposing running backs. Rachaad White, he's been behind Leonard Fournette. Now, Leonard Fournette did not practice on Friday, so if Leonard Fournette is out, although this is an awful matchup, Rachaad White is going to be in a good spot here because take a look at his last 3 games. He scored 18, 20, and 14 fantasy points in his last 3 games, up of 9, 14, and 22 rush attempts. And what I like about this pick is in the last 2 games, he got 8 and 9 pass targets. So 17 pass targets in the last 2 games. So that's why, despite the bad matchup here versus the 49ers, I think he's got some pretty good fantasy point upside if Leonard Fournette is out, because he's going to get the rush attempts and he's also going to be involved in the passing game. And he's only going to be about 2% owned. He's projected at 11.2 fantasy points, and he's 5,500 DraftKings salary, 1,300 more on FanDuel. So if Leonard Fournette is out, this would be one of my favorite sleeper picks. So I like Rachaad White here versus the San Francisco 49ers.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, moving on to the wide receiver position. One of my sleeper picks here is DJ Chark from the Detroit Lions, playing the Minnesota Vikings, who have the second worst defense overall. They give up the second most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. DJ Chark has averaged 7.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 5% owned, projected at 9.3 fantasy points here in week 14. Only 4,300 DraftKings salary, 1,400 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 51.5 points scored in this game, with the Lions favored by 2. DJ Chark has scored 15 and 10 fantasy points in the last 2 games, up of 6 and 5 pass targets. Now, he's been injured for most of the season, but now he's back and healthy. I think he's going to get in a rhythm here. He's got a fantastic matchup, so I like DJ Chark here versus the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. I got 2 sleeper picks for you here. My first one is George Kittle from the San Francisco 49ers, playing the Tampa Bay Bucks, who have a good defense overall. They give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. George Kittle has averaged 10.8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.4 pass targets per game. He's been on the field for 91% of the snaps, only going to be about 3% owned, projected at 9.6 fantasy points here in week 14. He's 4,300 DraftKings salary, 1,600 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 37 points scored in this game, with the 49ers favored by 3.5. Now, George Kittle has scored 4, 6, and 24 fantasy points in the last 3 games, off of 3, 4, and 6 pass targets. So not a lot of volume, not a lot of production the past 2 weeks. But remember that Jimmy Garoppolo is out, so could be a lot of check down passes to George Kittle, and he's got a good tight end matchup. Even though the Bucs have a good defense, they are giving it up versus tight ends, and Vegas has this as a low scoring game. But George Kittle at only 4,300 DraftKings salary, he doesn't need much to hit value, and he could put up a monster game here at super low ownership. So I like George Kittle here versus the Tampa Bay Bucs. Okay, another sleeper pick that I like here is Austin Hooper from the Tennessee Titans playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have the 9th worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing tight ends. Austin Hooper has averaged 5.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 3.2 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 5% owned, projected at 6.9 fantasy points here in week 14. Only 2,900 DraftKings salary, 2,000 more on FanDuel. Austin Hooper has scored 5, 6, and 20 fantasy points in the last 3 games, off of 5, 4, and 4 pass targets. So I like this pick because the Tennessee Titans are really beaten down at the wide receiver position. So I think he's going to get a good handful of targets here, maybe 5 to 7 pass targets at only 2,900 DraftKings salary with relatively low ownership and a pretty decent matchup. I like Austin Hooper here versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.